Okay, welcome back. Our first Easter egg of the week is Roundtable Talk with Routledge and Rowe, the deadliest duo in the BBL. If you're going on a road to the finals, the first thing you need is wisdom of Daniel Routledge, and secondly, you need that enthusiasm of Anthony Rowe. Welcome back to the show, lads. How are things?
Great to be here. Great to be here.
I don't know how I feel about that intro. Like, so Dan's like the star player. I'm just the guy running around after the ball.
Basically, this is your career. I'm Paul Williams, and you're at the elbow.
Hey, well, we got the best crew in the business on the show. So, fellas, welcome in.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Right, we have 20-ish minutes, so no warm-up. So watch your hammies, Big Tone. I know you'll laugh at that bit. We were just talking about it. Let's dive right into the middle of this Cup final insight. Right off the bat, who do you have winning the final and why?
Who goes first? Do you want to go or shall I go, Ro?
I purposely stay quiet so that you
Okay, I'll go first.
Well, wait. I thought you guys already had a system down. That's why we didn't,
Yeah.
guys,
So therefore, it's me going first. And Ro cleaning
let's
up.
work together every
That's
week.
it.
So I think essentially where I am now with London Lions, having watched them over the last month or so, is I would say is in J. Marriott Plymouth Raiders country, which means I will pick them irrespective of who they're playing, where they're playing, or whatever's going on, because they are right now living up to billing, aren't they? They're the team that are playing. This is the team we were talking about back in August and September when they were putting it together. We are now seeing that on floor. We didn't see it for the first 4 or 5 weeks. It took some growing pains for them to get through, but now they look like the team that we expected. So on any given night, I think I would back London, and I think if I was betting on them every week, I would make more money than I would lose over the course of the season. The other thing I think that leans me towards London against Newcastle, and I apologize here, Drew, because it's slightly awkward with you sat there, is I think the thing that Newcastle do best, the thing where they're at their best, London do really well too. So I think if you look at Newcastle, want to get up 100 possessions per game, they want to make it fast paced, they want to score. Well, London can do all of those things, and actually it's almost sort of, you have to slow them down if you're going to beat them. So I would go back to the game the other week where Leicester should have beaten them if they play out those last 30 seconds better than they did. They did that at 70, whatever it was, 75, 71, I think the score was. And that's almost the way to beat London. I think if you get up to 100 possessions a game, you're in danger of being 109-89, as Newcastle found out the other week. Now, what I've seen from Newcastle in the last week or so, where they beat Leicester in a close, low-scoring game, and then again today against Plymouth in a low-scoring game, being able to grind it out and win it, gives me better cause to think Newcastle can win the final. But if I was taking money out of my pocket and putting it down on the line, I'd have to bet on the Lions.
Tony.
Yeah. I think I have to go with my partner on that one. Just purely on I think on the way that they're going into this game as well. I think they're finally finding their confidence and their form is really good. However, what I would say, I'm more comfortable with the individual personnel in a championship big stage setting. So I'm more comfortable with Ramon Fletcher, Cortez Edwards, Darius Defoe, Drew Lasker. I'm more comfortable with those individuals winning that cup on that one given day. So I know I'm kind of deterring away from the question here. So I'd say for me, it's by a split hair. I'm saying London's gonna do that just because they've had the critics at them early, they've had the target on the back. There's been a mass amounts of build up. So I think London finally, get rid of the monkey off their shoulder and get it done. However, it's not going to be straightforward, and there's a part of me that just sees this Newcastle Eagles team finding a way to get it done. And I think Newcastle Eagles are better at dealing with adversity as well. I think when you look at what we've seen so far in the season, both teams, everyone's faced adversity, of course, but I think Newcastle Eagles are better at dealing with adverse situations. Today, prime example, as Dan said, against Leicester, I think Newcastle Eagles are built better for that. So if we come into a close game in the fourth quarter on Sunday, I may switch to Newcastle Eagles.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is actually, name me a bad final that Fletcher has had. Like, he's been in loads of finals. Which one was a bad one? I've seen the MVP ones. I don't remember seeing a bad one. So when the lights are brightest, he's the guy who always shows up every time in the final. So, you know, it's tough to bet against a guy like that in a one-off game in a situation like that. If it does come down to it, Edwards is playing out of his mind, by the way, the last, 6 weeks or something. You normally get that player of the month thing, and then, you know, it tails off a little bit, but he hasn't moved. It's the same, you know, every game he seems to be coming up with big plays.
So do you see Eagles as underdogs for maybe the first time going into the finals? Because obviously this Lions team, like we predicted them almost like a juggernaut. Maybe we jumped on them a little bit too soon because, of course, chemistry can't be instant. Doesn't matter how much money that you spend. But are we looking at an Eagles going in there with their backs against the wall? Is that true to say?
I think they're underdogs, not for the first time. I think it is interesting because, like the trophy final, you were arguably underdogs in that. I know it seemed weird because you were playing an NBL team, but they had all their guys and you were down to the bare bones or something. And there's been a few finals in the past where you've gone up against Leicester, where Leicester would have been slight favourites. But I think this is different to that. I think actually it's almost a free hit for Newcastle in some ways, because this is what London were put together to do, weren't they? This was what London are supposed to do. Now, Newcastle every year are a team that are supposed to challenge and be there or thereabouts to win trophies. So this is not out of character for them. It's not like you're going to rock up and big surprise. But for London, I mean, they've said it. We're here to win all 4 trophies. I don't remember Fab ever saying we're here to win all 4 trophies. He might have thought that. He might have said it to you at pre-season, but he didn't come out in public and say we're here to win all 4 trophies, which, by the way, is very hard to do. You know, you only need one bad game and all 4 you lose one of the 4 trophies. So, you know, the pressure is on London. There's no doubt about that. And I think that helps Newcastle, because they come in a scenario that they're not normally in, where actually there is no pressure. If you don't win, everybody will go, oh, well, it's London. We expected them to win. Come on, Ro. That's where you're meant to come in and pick up after me.
I'm waiting for Lasker to drop his next question.
You guys got some work to do until Sunday. No, it's on you, Tone.
we don't peak usually until around like Wednesday, Thursday. Like that's in the morning, we talk in the evening. That's when we really sort of get our synchronization on. So it's no, I would 100% agree with everything that Dan said there. There's no real pushback from me in that sense. But again, I have to re-emphasize, it's the Newcastle Eagles, and I think they are a team that's put together to win 4 trophies, whether you come out and say it or not. I think the expectation has been there, and it still is. It still is to this day. So that's the only as a caveat I would play. But no, everything else is. Let's see on Sunday.
That's fair. And so, guys, let's talk about. So obviously, both of you guys have picked the London Lions to win this game. And Daniel, don't worry about hurting my feelings. I know how to compartmentalize, so it's all good here. But let's talk a little bit about where you guys think this will be won. And both of you guys have kind of already touched on that fact. But just for our listeners out there, we got to paint the picture that London is traveling to Europe the following day to start their European campaign. They're rolling, so we know all of that going into it. So do you guys think it's going to be more so a team victory, or do you think it's going to come down to any particular matchups?
I think if we see London get an early lead, I think things are going to be very, very difficult for the Eagles, and I think that will come down to, I think it'll be more so individual. I think it'll be a guy, a Dirk Williams or a Liggins, who just grabs the game by the scruff of the neck and just takes over and propels the team onwards. Because you do see that in this London team now. Before really at the infancy start of the season, one guy would play well and other guys would be trying to keep on. It just wasn't working. But now it's more of a contagious atmosphere, in the sense of one guy is playing really well for one quarter. You know, the others are now energized by that. So I think if London go out and get an early lead in, let's say, the first quarter, second quarter, I think it's game. I think it's done. I think they've got enough to stick it into gear 4 for the rest of that game and get it done. Now, if the game is, if we get to half time when it's getting closer, third quarter, fourth quarter, this is where I genuinely believe my alliances or my prediction, that's where it does switch. I just think Newcastle Eagles have that maybe added grit. And I think the roles haven't changed as much for Eagles as well. You've had the guys there averaging their numbers, having their roles. They haven't had to make as many adjustments or teething, I guess, process as London has to get to where we are right now. So yeah, that's where I'm seeing an early start for London. It's game over. It's a wrap. Close.
Can I chuck something in there as well? Like let me ask you guys this: does the whole idea by Coach Vince of this rotation mentality, does that play a part into these things? You know, so you've rested people like Justin Robinson at times. That's allowed people like Liggins to start coming to the forefront. So, especially lately, the last couple of games, you've seen Liggins become the leader. Yes, Dirk Williams is putting up MVP numbers, but he's almost subsided, took on the scoring reins, and Liggins is running that team. Do you add in a full strength team? So you got Justin Robinson. I know Tawiah was rested the other day. Is that enough to throw you off going into a final, or is that a positive to get the rest for those guys?
Well, I think particularly for Justin, because he's nearer the Drew Lasker end of his career than some of the younger guys, if I can put it that way. I think with all the games that are coming up that week, it helps giving Justin a game or two off here and there. I think personally, and I know my knees are as shot as Rowe's, so you know what I mean. I'm sure he struggles physically with it as well. It's Liggins' team now. It's definitely Liggins' team. You can see it out there, and he's really enjoying himself. It comes across in the demeanor, the body language, the way he's, when you watch the social media clips they put up, he's always got a big smile on his face when he's throwing that pass down the lane that he did at was it Bristol on Friday night. It is interesting because obviously when Justin's not there and they run Ware at the point more as a result of it, they're a different team because he's a different player. He's much more up and down than Justin is. In some ways, I think Justin is probably the better player for the games the rest of the week. I think when they go into Europe, they need that level of what Justin brings. Whereas almost against Newcastle, maybe Ware is the stylistic match. That's not to say that Justin won't play big minutes. I think he will play big minutes. I think he's an important player for them. But to me, if they win the game, it will be through Liggins, and if they lose the game, I think it will be because Newcastle do something with Liggins that takes him away from what he was. In the same way that you did in the Sky game at the beginning of the league campaign, he was really off, wasn't he, Liggins in that game? And that's since then we haven't seen that version of him. So it's going to be very difficult to do. But to me, that's the main guy. Now, it might be that Dirk ends up being the MVP because he goes 5 for 7 from 3-point range and scores 30 points because, he's just unconscious right now from 3-point range. But I think that is made by the other guys on the team and having a player like Liggins on the team. Tawiah, you mentioned him, how well he's been playing for them inside. I mean, who saw that coming at the beginning of the season? So they've got a lot of different weapons, but it still goes through Liggins for me.
Yeah, and an interesting little caveat here is, everybody's talked about this condensed schedule that we had this year, and going into this game, the Newcastle Eagles have a full 7 days, and you have a full 8 days for the London Lions. And so, from a spectator point of view, I'm kind of anticipating that it might be an ugly game because both teams are proving that they play better with a lot of games in hand. We just literally just come off a 3-game in 7 days. And so that'll be a little interesting little point there as well. But making it official here.
Well, the interesting thing about that is actually the game that you lost the other week. What did you have? 12 days off before that?
Yeah, that's my point.
That was kind of noticeable.
Yeah.
So, but also look, a little, if I can say this, a little bit gassed towards the end of today's game, but got over the line. So
Right.
I think, look, it's that thing like years ago. Do you cancel the game? Some teams used to play the Friday night game before Sunday, and some didn't, and there was no right or wrong reason. If you went and won that game by 20, then you go into the final feeling great about yourself. If you lose by 15, then you go, we should have cancelled it.
Yeah, and I've been on both sides of that where we had a Friday game leading up to the Sunday, but this year we actually had a Saturday game against Bristol the day before, and I think it's pretty smart that we canceled that. But
yeah,
but let's make it official here, guys. Who are your MVPs? Who's going to be the MVP for the game?
To me, I mean, this might sound like I'm, copping out, because I would say it's either going to be Fletcher or Liggins, depending on who wins.
No, you got to pick one. You got to pick.
Oh, right. I've got to pick one. Oh, so if I got to pick one, then I'm going to pick Liggins because I've picked London to win the game. But I could easily see Fletcher winning it and Newcastle winning the game. But I'm going to stick with my original.
Is it a Liggins performance where you see him nearly get a triple double with low scoring, or is it a Liggins that put up 25?
Well, no, I think it's more like an 18, 7, and 8 type thing that we've seen him do over recent weeks. I don't think he feels he needs to score 25, 30 points. I feel he's really enjoying getting 7 or 8 assists a game.
Yeah, I think he's showing that he's a winner. That's what I've really enjoyed seeing the past couple of weeks. Is we've had all this MVP talk, all the hype of him being an NBA player. I think he's adapted his game. He understands he needs to do a little bit more, but that is him in a nutshell. He's Mr. Octopus on defense, and he loves on offense. He loves just a bit of everything. He doesn't want to choose to be a specialist in one area. He loves a little bit of everything, and that really appeals to me the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you saw that in the Leicester game when he comes up with the big steal at the end, and he passes at the end as well. He could have taken that on himself and been, I'm the man, I'm going to win the game. But he saw that Parker was open from 15 feet, and that's a better shot. And that's, smart play. Now, it's the sort of thing, if you go with one of his former teammates, LeBron James, in his early career, he used to get killed for passing up late in the game. But actually he was always passing to a better shot, and I think that's what he's been doing. If there's a better shot there, we'll take that better shot. I don't need to score 30 points. He doesn't need to prove that, I don't think, or he doesn't feel like he has to prove that.
Yeah. That's what I would say when we're talking about MVPs. These cup finals, trophy finals, they can be notorious for just choosing the guy with the leading points and the most efficiency. We all know in this room that the MVP doesn't have to be the leading scorer, the leading rebounder, or whatever. So I think I'm going to go with Derek Williams. I think they're going to need him to play well. They're going to need him to shoot the ball well. I was going to say Orlando Parker because he'll get you a 25 and 12.
I like him. Yeah.
But I think Derek Williams is a guy they need to play well. London win that, he gets MVP.
Nice. Okay, so look, we have the GOAT when it comes to data and statistics. Is there anything in the minutia that jumps off the page?
I think with finals, that you can't really use the past history in terms of numbers as a sort of an example. What you can use is how do people perform in that stage? So the point I made about Fletcher always has a great final, always. Robinson, by the way, his shooting numbers in finals haven't been that great. Now, it's not been helped by the fact that he keeps going up against Leicester in the final, and Rob does some crazy stuff to him with Connor and all of that. But, he will, I feel, want to prove himself. And he is one of those guys, when he won the MVP and they didn't win the playoffs, he was like, well, what does it matter? The league MVP doesn't really matter if we don't win as a team. And he is a guy who wants to win. I think it's about attitude and personality and that sort of drive. So actually, that Newcastle team, if you go back to the trophy final in March, you had the guys you needed to win in that situation. You had guys that were just, it didn't matter. We'll go out and we'll play 45 minutes and we'll just somehow grind it over the line. And that's what comes to stand up in big games to me, is the people who've done it before. And and they're on both sides of the ball. So that's why it's an interesting final, because sometimes you end up with, you know, a slight unknown. Even last year's cup final, it was a slight unknown, wasn't it? Because you got two teams that you don't. Well, Worcester's been in a few finals, but it was just a bit different, wasn't it?
Two unexperienced teams for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you know, just looking at this Lions team, one of the things that's interesting to me is, like you said, Tone, is I don't think their temperament's been tested since they've come up against those early games in Newcastle. So I'd like to see how they react with a little bit of adversity, because they haven't had to face that yet. They've had a really nice little ride, which is good to build their confidence. But if they get wobbled, that will be the true test of whether they can back up some of the things that they said early in the season.
Yeah, 100% agreed, and that's where the advantage for me is with the Eagles. I think their mentality is better, and they have that togetherness as well. I think they've proven that and showed it on court. So yeah, I think the mental element could be just as important as talent on these one day events. You got to remember, just one game. You know, if that shot's not going down, or if that player who usually gives you 20 isn't providing that offensive output, then that's where those other attributes, attitude, mentality, come into play, and we've seen it year after year. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, so it's an exciting time. But listen, finally, we need to get on to some more important pressing things, okay? Before we let you guys go, Sky Sports production has been at another level this season. Amazing. But the question that nobody is asking right now is, are polo necks making a comeback? So I saw Ashley Hamilton and I thought, hey, you know, he's fresh fashion. He can kind of pull that off. Then I saw Big Tony Rowe and he came out with the Ron Burgundy. I thought, okay, all right, I see something's happening here. Then I see Nat Coombs, NBA, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I have seen a picture of Daniel Routledge in a white cashmere number. Do I need to go shopping, fellas? That is the question. Do I need to go shopping?
But then Achara switches it up, and you know, he kind of took my style with the jeans and the sports coats. By the way, that Navy sports coat was sick with the Jordans. I loved it. He looked absolutely on fire.
Been taking notes, right?
The funny thing is, preparing for these games, that can be more stressful than actually preparing for the game itself. Like, happily sit there, you know, my X amount of hours, study away on my stats and my research. But then I'm going to think about what to wear. I mean, that's where the real anxiety comes.
Yeah, but Tone, listen, so far in all the games, what I've seen you coming on is you've had it wrong every single time. So the first time you came up overdressed, you know, you may as well just worn a bow tie and just gone all out. And then the other day you turn up, you know, in your camouflage, super chill, and everyone's gone hard at it. You know, you need to get in the WhatsApp group, buddy. That's what you need. You need to get in the group. As soon as you get off here, just message them and say, get me in the group, all right?
What are we
wearing?
wearing?
I'm an individual, mate. I'm a free spirit, mate. Let me be, mate. Let me be.
Well, my stylist is sat over here. I can get her on the phone to you, Ro, and she can sort it out. She was the one that insisted on the roll neck for me, so I defer to her all the time.
Listen, I absolutely love it. Look, sadly we're on the clock. These specials are 20-ish minutes per one, but I'm pretty sure we could all go like this all night. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, guys. Rest those vocal cords. Get ready for those finals. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you. Good luck, Drew.
Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And make sure that you guys come back tomorrow, because we're not done. So we got something special up the sleeve for you guys. Click that subscribe button and you don't have to wait on it. It'll come right to you. So until then, we'll see you guys. We're all signing off from the show.
See you tomorrow, the show.